Everyone wants their art to look next level. But here's the truth. What separates a $10 versus $100 artist isn't just talent. It's about building believable, optimized, and game-ready assets that make the studio say, this person gets it. In this video, I will break down the key differences between amateur art and professional art, how to make your portfolio pop, the exact details studios are looking for when hiring, and stick around because if you ever struggle to stand out as an artist, this will change how you work forever. And so you might ask, who even are you? Well, my name is Robin Mariancik. I had the opportunity to work on some amazing projects like the Racer X demo at Nvidia, Counter-Strike 2, and this epic post-apocalyptic weapon at Sierra Division, plus some very top secret projects not even the CIA knows about. Just because you can make beautiful art doesn't mean it will work in a game. Let me show you a few tips and tricks that will help you optimize your UVs a little bit better. There are many different tools for making UVs. The one I would personally recommend and that I have been using for many years now is called Realism UV. This software has many amazing tools that will make your UVs much easier. One of these tools are called constraints. The way to access the constraint is if you go to the unwrap bar at the top, click this little down arrow, and here we can see the constraints. Here it is the horizontal constraint, the vertical one. Here is the one to cancel the constraints, and also a diagonal one. You can definitely use these constraints straight from this menu here, but this is a little bit complicated. So one thing you could do is if you click this little dotted area here on the left, you can drag over the constraints here, and here they will be more easily clickable. And let me show you how we can use them. So let's take a look, for example, at this island here. As you can see, it has a little bend here that is not really efficient for packing. So what we can do is we can switch to the edge mode. Let's select this edge here. And now let's go to our constraints and select the horizontal one. Now, as you can see, they tagged this edge here with a blue color. So now if we go to the island mode, select the island and hit unwrap, means U, it is going to actually straighten it quite nicely. Sometimes it's not gonna do it immediately, so you have to press O for optimize bunch of times, and it will unwrap nicely. And so now if you imagine that you wanted to pack this island, it will be much easier to find a space for it because it's just that much more even and it's gonna be easier to pack. And so now you might have the question what kind of edges you would want to straighten. And I would say the answer to that is any edge that looks like it could be pretty straight. For example, this one here has some waves here, and I think this one could actually be straightened. So let's actually try it out. Let's select it. Let's mark it with our shortcut. Let's also do the same thing for the bottom one. Now let's try to unwrap it, optimize, and let's see. So now if we take a look at it, you can see that there is a little bit of stretching. But let's actually check it out on the model itself. So if we take a look at this model here, you can see that the stretching doesn't look too bad, and since this is going towards blue, this is actually meaning that it's going to have more resolution. If it was going red, it would have less resolution. And since these values are pretty low, I think this will work out. If they were going to be more towards this color here, for example this red one, or even these dark red ones, this would be just too much. Same for the opposite side. But I think this is pretty light, so I think this will work out. You can also do the same for these edges here, but in this case we need to actually use the vertical constraints. So as you can see, those turn to be green. And now you can see that this whole island is very nice and straight, and this way it will be much easier to pack. The stretching on this middle part here might be going a little bit blue, but I think it will be just fine in the textures. The main thing is that it won't be noticeable in the textures themselves. Let's now take a look at an example where it wouldn't make much sense. And the island in question is this one. So this bottom line here, you can see it is wavy as well. But the waviness here, especially in the center, is way too much. So let's actually try it out. Let's select the edge, and straighten it. And as you can see, this blue is going way too dark, and so if we also check out the model, yeah, this is going way too dark and this is just too much. So what would actually make sense for this part is to straighten it just partially. So what we can do is select just this part that is pretty close to being straight. Let's highlight it. Let's do the same for the right side and let's optimize it. And as you can see, now these sides are straight and there is very little stretching. You can also do the same for the sides here. And now we have a very nicely optimized island. There are also other optimization techniques I won't fully cover here, but let's at least take a look what kind of difference they can make to our texel density. Now what I did for this pack here is that I didn't apply any of the optimization techniques. And as you can see, all of these islands are curvy and none of these are straightened. So now if we go ahead and measure the texel density for these islands, we get a number of 989 pixels per meter. And now to put this into context, let's actually take a look at an optimized UV set and see what kind of texel density we can get. And now you can see the result of applying all the different optimization techniques, and just from taking a look at this, you can see that the pack actually looks much tighter. And what I did for this pack is that I straightened all the islands as I was just showing. I also did mirror some of the parts that are basically the same, and you can see those on the right side here. And one another thing is that for some of these islands, you won't actually be seeing them too much. So for example, this one here, as you can imagine, if this seed will be lowered down, you won't actually be able to see this. So the texel density for this specific island can be smaller compared to the rest. And now let's take a look what actual difference does it make. So the texel density we got before was 989. And let's see what we get now. And now we actually get 1266.83, which is actually 22% increase. And now to actually illustrate the difference on an actual texture, let's see how it compares. So the image you're seeing right now is a render of a 4K texture. Now let's see how it looks when we reduce the texture by 22%. As you can see, this is much blurrier. If we go back to the 4K, you can see that the text is fairly decently readable. But if we go to the reduced one, you can see the difference is quite noticeable. So hopefully this illustrates quite well why all these optimization techniques are important and why you should learn them. To get that dream job you've always wanted, you need to have a strong portfolio that the employers will recognize as next level. Optimization is a good part of that. It will show that you know what you're doing and that your models can be used in production. You also need to show good storytelling in your textures. Every little detail has a story to tell. Including well-researched and thought out details can set a piece apart from the rest, and it does the same thing for the artist. Including small, directional scrapes that show how something was used, or a sticker showing the personality of a motorcyclist, the details add depth and contribute to immersion in the gaming experience. Meticulous planning leads to superb delivery, and all these little details start with gathering high-quality references. One really amazing tool I like to use is Search by Image. This tool allows you to search similar images to the image you click on anywhere on the internet. This is really useful for finding different angles, similar materials, or even higher resolution images, or just going into a whole new direction of interesting searches. The way we can use this is pretty simple. We just find an image we want to base the search on, right click on it, search by image, and then we can choose an engine we want to search with. I like to use Bing a lot because this one is giving me quite nice results, so let's try it. But in this case it doesn't seem to work, so let's try a different one. This Lenso AI is a new one and it seems to be quite nice as well, so let's try it. And as you can see, it spits out a bunch of similar images. So let's try clicking on one. For example, this one. Let's make it bigger. And there it is. This is looking pretty nice. But what we can also do is click on it again, search by image, and let's try Bing now. As you can see, it is working now. And we can just scroll through these images and find one that is interesting to us. If you want to search for a specific part, what you can do is take a screenshot of it. So let's do that. Now let's drag it over to the browser. This will open like this. And then just right click on it, search by image, and let's try Yandex in this case. I'd heard it gives some nice results as well. And yeah, as you can see, this gives us some nice similar images to the one we just captured. And quite nice resolution as well. And this concludes pretty much all the tools I'm using to search for some nice references. We can combine these in any way we want to find exactly what we need. It's important not to just copy what you see in your references. It's also necessary to understand why it appears in the first place, because this will guide you in how and where you should recreate this effect. Let's see how we can understand references in an example. Now let's actually recreate an effect that is going to be in our textures, and it's not going to be just an example. And the effect in questions are these darker parts here, and we can see some of them here as well. I had a theory about these darker parts, but I wanted to confirm it. So I decided to try and ask ChatGPT. And what you can do is you can actually upload an image there and ask what it thinks about it. And it actually confirmed what I was thinking. And it is that these darker parts here are actually touch-ups, which were created to prevent some sort of corrosion that would happen otherwise. And the reason these are so dark on this blue motorcycle here is that they actually matched in the past, but because this is a different paint material, the original one faded quite substantially and the touch-up stayed quite dark. So this is the reason it appears like this. And it's always good to find out why this effect happens, because this is going to give you some clue where you should be placing this. This is also going to tell you that these darker parts here in the middle are probably the exposed part that was painted over. And as the paint wears out over the years, it's going to actually reveal the darker spots beneath it, and this is what you're going to recreate. And the reason why I have both of these references open here is that I want to take something from each one of those. From the left one, I like that the strokes look a little bit more hand painted. And on the right side, I like that there is this sort of bright halo around these islands, which I think is quite interesting. And so before we start doing this, let's actually do some planning, as I was mentioning before. And let's see how we are going to approach this. First of all, these are very custom effects, so they're going to be hand painted. Most probably with a brush, because I don't think I will have stencil for this one. So let me zoom into this one, and what I'm thinking we could do is we would, for example, create a mask and basically paint all of the black and white islands. Paint all of these, and the base color would be probably this bright, saturated color in our case, or in my case, it would be bright saturated yellow. Then we could take this mask and create some sort of halo effect for these white parts around these corners, or rather around these edges. Then you can see that there is this sort of transition between the saturated ground and some sort of grayed out part of this layer. Something like we did see in this one, where it is revealing the exposed part on the bottom. So this one again, we could use the whole mask again, and then just isolate this middle part here with some sort of blur effect. So right now I'm thinking basically 3 different layers. The base one would be the first, then there would be this white halo on the edges, and there would be these dark parts here in the middle. I'm also seeing that this white halo is having some sort of breakup, and I think I'm not going to be able to achieve this with a brush necessarily. So what we might want to do is maybe expand the halo and use some sort of warp on it. So it would create something similar like these effects here. Sometimes when working on your art for a long period of time, it is common that you get used to what you're seeing, and it can be hard to find ways to improve. For this reason, it is important to get a fresh look from a different perspective. It can be your friends, random strangers on the internet, or in the case you decide to enroll in this course, you will get live insights from myself, the instructor, guiding you towards a well-textured and well-optimized model ready for the gaming industry. So how do you stand out? The truth is, every artist learns the tools, but few demonstrate that they understand the production pipeline from idea to game-ready asset. That difference is what pushes you from being considered to being the obvious choice. All this can be totally done and learned on your own, but if you want a mentor to guide you step by step, we built this course and a community to do exactly that. And if you want to build a portfolio that the studios just can't ignore, let's join us at Sierra Division Academy. Links are in the description.